Okay, well, I'll just fill that in. So we said that the middle one, 2, was the main idea because it captured the critical details here, that it was he was the leader of the nonviolent struggle. It talked about the march specifically, and then it gave the general context for what the march was about, which is his defiance of the British law. So we said that this was the main idea. We said that this was too broad because it was a true statement, but it didn't really capture enough of the details, right? So this is too broad. So that means this one would be too narrow. David, you're talking too much, please. All right. So we'll go through here, and what we'll do is we'll look at these choices. If we get it right, great. If we're not sure, what we'll do is we'll go back in the text and we'll look to see if we can find the correct answer. So again, these are just like factual details, so we should be able to find a specific sentence or two that gives us the example. So first one says, under British rule, it was illegal for Indians to... Here, can you see it?
Why not the same exact answer as that one? BMM.
BMM. So, under British rule, it was illegal for Indians to do what? What did you put for that, Malik?
A.
A, gather salt. Okay? Good. Yeah, the other ones don't make any sense. They could buy salt because that was the whole issue. The British Empire wanted them to buy it from them, and obviously they could use the salt because what are they going to do? Buy it and then not use it? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, number 2. A person living according to the philosophy of Satyagraha uses A, physical force, B, illegal force, or C, moral force. Dante, what do you think for that? Is that illegal force? Malik, what did you think? C, moral force. Good. C is the correct answer, Dante. Let's go in the text and look to see where we got that answer from. So let's flip back. So it's going to be here in paragraph 3 on the second page, where he talks about the philosophy of Satyagraha. Here it says the philosophy called for the use of moral force. Here we are, moral force, to change the wrongs of a society, right? So not violence, not the other things that they said, but moral force. Okay? Number 3, immediately after receiving Gandhi's letter in March of 1930, the Viceroy, so remember I said Viceroy was like the governor basically, and the letter was about informing him of the march. Right, so Gandhi wrote a letter to the Viceroy saying, I'm going to do this protest, march to the sea. So what did the Viceroy do? Did he call out his troops, put Gandhi in jail, or do nothing? Dante, you said B, and C is the correct answer. He did nothing. Did nothing. Well, let's look at the actual text and see what it says. Alright? So this is what you should be doing each time, Dante. So, here we go, paragraph 4. In March of 1930, Gandhi wrote to the British Viceroy or Governor stating his intention to lead a salt march. The Viceroy did not even reply. Right, and then you can actually look even further here in paragraph 5, where it says Gandhi watched for the arrival of the Viceroy's soldiers, but days passed, no soldiers showed up. Viceroy decided not to make an arrest. So we can kind of conclude from that the Viceroy decided to do nothing. He didn't respond to the letter. He didn't send out any police or soldiers to arrest him. Okay, number 4.
just died?
That was weird. I don't know what just happened.
Alright, sir.
Sorry about that. There it goes. There it goes. So, number 4, the first thing Gandhi did when he reached the coast was A, pray with his followers, B, pick up a handful of salt, or C, bathe briefly in the sea to purify himself. Dante, what did you pick for that one?
B.
You said D?
I said B.
B? Okay. Malik, what did you put?
C.
C. Yeah, I believe C is the correct answer. I can tell you're just guessing here, Dante. Okay. What you need to do is go back in the text. Remember I said all the answers are in the text specifically, so let's see.
So that's C too.
Oh, okay, it actually says, here we go. So let's get a timeline here. So he reaches the coast down here in paragraph 7. He was marching, and he says that night he prayed with his followers, and then the next morning he held the religious ceremony and bathed briefly. So if we follow the order of steps, it would actually be first he prays, then he purifies in the morning, and then he collects the salt, right? So the correct answer would actually be A. Right? Prays with his followers. Okay, so we can see how it's important, even in our heads, we knew that he did all 3 of these things, right? We can remember all of these 3 details as things that happened. We probably remember that the last thing he did was picking up the salt, but it's important to go back and clarify the order of these things. Did he bathe first or did he pray first? Okay, number 5, 3 weeks after the Salt March. Our choices are A, India was granted independence, B, Gandhi was arrested, or C, the people of India revolted against the British.
B.
Yeah. So India was granted, if we look back in the text, we would see that India was eventually granted independence, but it didn't happen 3 weeks after the Salt March. And in some sense, this is sort of like a general statement, but it's not necessarily a specific event that happened exactly 3 weeks after the Salt March.
I have the whole wrong.
Where? Oh, it's from the door. If we go back in the text, we can see that on the last page here, paragraph 9, after picking up the salt, Gandhi was sure he would be arrested immediately, but he was not. It was another 3 weeks before the British put him in jail. So here we can see the clear answer to that question. Okay? Alright, let's move on to the next section. Making inferences. So let's review here real quick what an inference is. Dante, can you read starting where it says when you combine?
When you combine your own experience and information from the text to draw conclusions that is not directly stated in the text. You are making an inference.
Good. Yeah, you can stop there. You can stop there. Thanks. Yeah, so again, you're really combining 2 different things. It's kind of like I always think of it as like a math problem. You're combining your own experience, E, plus something that you read in the text to draw some kind of new conclusion. And they use a fancy word for this conclusion called an inference. All right. The act of making an inference is to infer something. So this would be the verb form, to infer, and an inference itself is the noun, the thing itself, right? So to infer is to make an inference. And they can be, sometimes it isn't immediately clear, and so the good thing about inferences is they require us to do some critical thinking. So we have to use our brains a little bit more than if we were just looking back in the text. Now, we'll typically need to look at the text, but we also have to combine something from our own experience in order to draw these conclusions. And what they want you to do is just put a C if it seems like a correct inference, and an F if it does not seem like a correct inference. They're calling it a faulty inference. And we'll discuss each one to try to come up with a consensus together. Malik, can you read the first one, please?
The British did not view
Satyagraha.
Yeah, close. Satyagraha.
Satyagraha. The way that Gandhi did.
Good. Okay, let's look at some pieces of information. So Satyagraha is the philosophy that Gandhi had, right? The philosophy of using moral force to change sort of social injustices. So now we know that the British were ruling over the Indians, and we know that Gandhi was trying to end that rule. But does it seem reasonable to say that the disagreement between the British and Gandhi was on this particular, the philosophy itself? Does it say anything in the text about how the British felt about Satyagraha? No, it doesn't really. So that maybe this is true, but there's nothing really in the text to kind of support that as an idea. So we should probably consider this a faulty inference. And there's not enough information to really say that this is true. All right, Dante, can you read the second one, please?
The people of India needed salt more than the people of other countries did.
Yeah, it says that they needed more salt. So the inference, the place that this inference is coming from seems to be, okay, the Indians want salt. Gandhi's trying to march for salt. The reason that he's marching for salt is that they need more of it. Is that what the text is really saying?
No.
Why is he marching for salt? Is it because they don't have enough?
He won't make it elite. No, he want everybody to have their own.
Yeah, he doesn't want to have to buy it from who?
The British.
Yeah, the British Empire, right? So it's not that they need more salt. Though I guess you could say maybe they did because there's a lot more people there, but it seems a bit of a stretch. There's not really anything we can base that upon, right? The reason he was doing the march is because they didn't want to buy it from the British Empire. It wasn't that they didn't have enough of it. So let's say that this is a faulty inference also. I could see the argument being India has way more people than most other countries, and so you could say that's what the inference is saying. They need so much more salt because there's so much more people. You could reason that way. I would probably accept that. Sometimes inferences, it's not always one correct answer or one incorrect answer. Sometimes you can go both ways depending on how you justify your answer. Number 3. Can you read that, Malik?
Gandhi felt it was important to the cause that he personally walked all the way to the sea.
Yeah, so that comes from, remember the part in the text where people wanted to give him a ride, and he refused the ride. And I think I may have asked this question, why do we think Gandhi, why do we think he refused the ride? And I would say it kind of points to this idea. Something that this inference seems to be drawing upon is Gandhi was all about like self-sufficiency. So you think about the issue with the salt. He didn't want people to have to buy the salt from the British, not only for the economic reasons, but just he liked the idea of like Indian salt for Indian people, basically. So you can see why somebody who wanted to rely on only themselves would probably not want to, hitch a ride with somebody and sort of be treated like a special person.
Oh, they probably gonna trick him and take all his money.
I mean, I guess, but I wouldn't say that would be a conclusion that we could draw based on what we've read in the text. So let's say that this is a correct inference. All right, Dante, can you read the next one, please?
This is Gandhi. Oh, Gandhi, right?
Gandhi.
Gandhi was pleased when the reports of his salt march appeared in the newspapers around the world.
Yeah, what do you think, Dante? Do you think he would have been pleased about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
Because it's showing how his emotions feel
Okay.
about the salt and his people.
Do you think Gandhi wanted lots of people to know about the oppression that was occurring?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think that when he saw that this appeared in newspapers around the world, that sort of met his goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. This is a good, pretty straightforward one here, and it makes sense why if he was trying to sort of bring awareness to this issue, he would have been pleased about this. So we can say, yes, correct influence. All right, Malik, can you read the last one, please?
The salt law was not the only British law. That upset Gandhi and the Indian people.
Good. Yeah, what do you think? Let's think about your own experience. Do you think that it was only this one specific law and Gandhi was like, if I can just get rid of this one law, then like everything will be okay? Or do you think this law was just one piece and what he was really trying to do was to get rid of the entire rule of the British? Yeah, the second one.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't really make sense that he would just be trying to get rid of the one law. What he was really wanting to do was to give India independence, right? He didn't want to be ruled by the British. Good. So we'll call that a correct influence. Come in. Hi.
Where are your students?
They went on the field trip.
I was hoping to leave.
Sure.
Okay. Do you have any of what you've been working on written down? Your scripts and stuff?
It's on the computer.